Welcome to the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. This podcast is about all things outdoor photography, including landscapes, wildlife, macro, and more. The show features two talented photographers, Henry Doyle and Ryan Taylor, who bring their different experiences in photography to the podcast. The show is released weekly every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. In today's episode, Henry and Ryan talked to Kelly Ingerson, a sand and seascape abstract photographer. Her work has been published in magazines worldwide and exhibited in multiple venues around Ohio and beyond. We delve into many topics like what draws her to photograph the beaches and lakes that she travels to, and her many ambitious and creative projects she uses to exhibit her work. Kelly is an exciting and passionate free spirit, so we hope you really enjoy her stories about her photographic work here.
Welcome back to episode 42 of the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. And today we've got yet another guest on.
Yes, we do. We have Kelly Ingerson on the show. Welcome, Kelly. Just tell us about what you do, photography-wise, and who you are.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, Henry. Yes, my name is Kelly Ingerson. I am a abstract sand photographer, and basically I walk the beaches, whatever coastline I can find, and the beaches are basically like my canvas. It's never ending and always changing. Basically, the ocean waves and the sand, they dance together, whether it's a storm or it's just a calm day. They create all these really beautiful patterns in the sand, and so I capture them with my lens, with my camera, and it's my visual of what I see in the sand. And so once I've captured them, I put them in my computer, and I do a little bit of editing, nothing very much, and just basically enhance the colors that are in there. And I print all of my work on metal, and it's really beautiful. And every picture has a different visual. So the wonderful part about the sand is that you can look into it and you can see what you see and not necessarily what I see. So there's all kinds of like really cool images and stuff that when people stand there and look at them, they kind of go, wow, I see faces, or I see, like, oh, that looks like, maybe that's a waterfall, or, whatever. And I see something completely different. That's not what I actually took a photograph of. And so that to me is really great, because I love the fact that that people find their own vision in all of the pictures. So yeah.
That's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've always liked your work. Simply because it's something different. I don't know. It's really refreshing. I've never met someone that really focuses solely on beaches and sand like that too.
Yeah, I've actually done some lake sand as well, and that is actually a little bit different, but it's more of like just real patterns, whereas the sand and the ocean can actually create like visual images. So I have a collection of trees that you really, when you look at it, you can see it's actually a tree. And then I have some that like is visual. You can see the footprints in it, but there's faces also inside of it. The more you look at them, the more it tells a story, and the more it gives you more images. And, if you let your imagination run wild, you can see all kinds of things in there.
Yeah, that's great that you've kind of focused down on such a small area, because I mean, I'm guessing that sand photography, there's got to be infinite combinations, really, because the water changes it, and wind, and just you always have something new to shoot.
Oh, absolutely, because once the ocean wave comes in onto the beach, it creates a picture or an image or a design, whether it swirls and lines or whatever. The wave will rush back out to sea. When it comes back in, it'll erase that image, and you can never capture the same image ever again. So it's very unique in that manner, because even if somebody else came and took photographs of the sand like I do, none of us would ever have anything the same. So it's like I said, it's always changing. And the bigger the storms, the better the patterns and stuff, because the ocean is actually pretty angry. By the time that wave crashes onto the sand, it sends all those sand grains in so many different directions that when the ocean wave drags back out to sea, the sand all rushes back together, and it creates some really fun pictures. So
Yeah, I was just thinking the other day about like how photography itself is very like ephemeral, and it's just everything's always changing. But yeah, this is like, I think like one of the perfect situations where it really is always changing. And yeah, like you said, you can't just replicate the same photo twice too.
yeah, so you can go take a sunset picture over a landscape. Now, it would be different each time you took it, but it's still basically the same. Whereas the sand is never the same, because it's never, the grains of sand are never in the same order, and so you'll never have that same to look at. So, and it changes with the seasons too, with the different tides, and hurricanes that come through are pretty fun to go chase because they leave some really awesome sand patterns, or nor'easters that go up the east coast. You've got some pretty good storms that come through the Gulf of Mexico. And obviously the West Coast of America, they also have, the Pacific, they have some pretty cool storms that come through there. And their sand's a little different to the East Coast, and then the Gulf is a little different. And some places have really cool colored sand. So when there is a pattern, it actually, you can really pull out some really cool images. I took a photograph of some sand in Daytona Beach, and they have some red sand, and it actually looked like Freddy Krueger, the movie, that horror movie, Elm Street or whatever it is. It looked, yeah, so it looked like Freddy Krueger had walked along the sand and just took his knives and like scraped through this red sand, and it exposed all this white sand underneath it. And it's just like this huge, like you would just like take your hand and just run it right through this sand and do a big arch. And so that one's really quite amazing. So I go, wow, did that sand, was that sand really there? And that really is red sand in Daytona Beach. So the more colors, the more distinct you can see different like images, like whether it's lots of circles or lots of lines, or I have some pictures that look like it's actually an ocean wave, but it's actually just sand. I have so many different ones. Some have really cool colors that you can really enhance, and it'll bring out some fun colors. Others are just black and white. Really, they're all individual, and they're all really fun to look at, I think so.
So how often would you say when you're out in the field, do you like you don't set out to make a Freddy Krueger image, right? Like do you just find these like subject matter in the sand like by accident, or do you actually like set out to like find certain patterns and just unique shapes, I guess?
No, I don't actually set out to find anything in particular. And so sometimes it's kind of like 3 or 4 days on the beach and find nothing that's really worth photographing. And other times it's just like, wow, they're everywhere. But no, it's more of like just looking for something that's a little unique and kind of fun to look at. I walked the beach in Buckrow, which is in Hampton, Virginia, and I spent 3 days down there and never found anything. And then on the last day of the last hour before I had to leave, I found a pattern in the sand that actually looks like a tornado, like the tornado had picked up all the sand and it was spinning. So it was really fun. So yeah, never really go looking for anything. It's just more of just like finding, walking and looking and all that kind of stuff, just to see what's actually there.
And you said that's fairly rare to find like a subject that instantly like stands out to you.
Yeah, some of them are really, you can really see it. You're like, oh wow, look at that. And then there's other ones that are very subtle. Unless you're looking for them, you wouldn't see them. I have a picture which I call, what's his name? Poseidon. And it's like part of the torso is coming out of the sand, and he has stretched his arms out and he's created the ocean. So Poseidon's a Greek god. And I love it because it's really, when I enhanced the colors in it, it brought the whole body to life, and you can really see all the details in there, that it really looks like a man's torso coming out of the sand and to create the ocean, which is blue. And so that's a really fun one. But if you look at the actual raw photograph that I took, it would be very difficult for people to see it, because it wasn't like, sticking out, like you could really see it. So sometimes it's hard to find things like that, but that's half the fun is, you wander the beaches, and plus it's, it's beautiful. The beaches are awesome. And it's, it has its own energy and stuff. And so when I walk the beaches to find them, that's half of the treasure hunt, is to find something really, really cool. And then if you don't find anything, it's still, that's like my office. I have a canvas that never ends and always changes. So you just never know, the next day may be better.
So are you kind of always at that water line, like where the sand changes really fast, or are you like further back, some of the more sedentary sand?
Both, actually, because not everything is happening at the water's edge. There is, stuff that, the tide has gone out, and it's, left these really cool patterns up on the sand where it started to dry out. And then that creates its own different kind of textures and colors and stuff as well, because it's not saturated in water. So sometimes it'll be a darker gray, a whiter white, and maybe some blacks and browns and stuff in there as well, where you wouldn't have seen it so much if it was wet. So I do both. And and it's funny because people will watch me and they probably think she's like seriously a crazy lady. What on earth is she photographing? Because I'm just walking along, and all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, look at that, and I take pictures from all different angles, and they probably think, oh my god, what is wrong with her? And they do look at you weird when you walk by them. So but yeah, it's like I go up the beach and I walk along for a bit, and I come back to the water's edge, and then I always backtrack anyway. So, and sometimes you can like get a really cool picture of the sand, and there's a seashell in it, and all it does is just really enhance these beautiful patterns in the sand, and then the seashell sometimes has the same lines or the same, and it like really gives it like this really unique look.
That's neat because like the seashell provides like a visual anchor in the photo too. Like if you don't want to just be like a fully abstract image, like you can use that to like offset it too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So I have a couple that are like that. I have what looks like a picture of trees, like 3 or 4 trees in this picture, and right in the center of one of the trees is a heart-shaped seashell. And it's very tiny, but it's there, and it just gives you that grounding that it's not actually a tree. So, but it really enhances that photograph that shows that there's different things in that. And some of the pictures that I've taken that actually look like something actually has a small footprint in it, which also gives it a little bit of character, because it goes, oh, yeah, okay, it really is believable that this is beach sand because there's a footprint in it, and it might be in the corner or something like that. So I think it's a lot of it's really more about what your imagination is. And I think because, you know, I see all these patterns and I see all these different things in them. It's my imagination going, oh, wow, look at that. And then sometimes I put them in my computer and I look at them and I go, what on earth was I taking a picture of? So, you know, so sometimes you think you've had a great day and you look at it and you go, oh, that really wasn't good at all. None of these are really worthy of anything. So, well, just go back tomorrow, you know?
I mean, I think part of that too is like the problem of eyes versus camera, because cameras can't even begin to capture the amount of like tones we can see with our eyes, you know.
Yeah, I believe that too. And you know, and like I said, sometimes your imagination is seeing something that maybe really isn't quite there. Like you can kind of see it and you go, oh, this is really good, and you know, take it from different angles or whatever. And then when you actually get it back and you know, you do some stuff in Photoshop, or, you know, just to enhance some of the colors, to bring some of those grains, because of the light, the way the light hits the grain, it creates a color, because, you know, each surface of the grain of sand is different to all the others. And so with the way the light hits it, sometimes it kind of gives like that diamond effect. So if you look at a diamond in a certain way, it'll create different colors, and sand does a lot of that as well. So when you enhance all those colors, it brings the actual image to life. And sometimes there's things that you don't actually see when you're taking the photograph, and when you do that and you kind of look and you go, oh, that's completely different to what I thought I was actually taking a photograph of this, but this is even cooler. So so it's like a process of, you know, going and finding these things and then looking at them and going, okay, yeah, that's really good. And that's, you know, people are going to find so many different things in there that they could imagine, you know, what it is. And sometimes you can just stand there and just kind of get lost in all those circles and swirls and lines and stuff, because then you just kind of keep looking at it. And, you know, it's kind of like those psychedelic patterns and stuff you see sometimes. Some of these are like that as well. So I think they're kind of fun.
Is there like a certain time of day, would you say, or like with the tides? Do you go out like during sunrise, sunset, or midday, or all of it that you like prefer?
I prefer sunrise because no one's been on the sand. And as soon as it becomes light, you know, people are out jogging, they've got their dogs, you know, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, they step in the patterns because, I mean, they don't see them, or, you know, it's not anything that they care about. But, you know, it's, for me, it's like I want to get there before anyone else is there, so I can like really find all of the cool stuff before somebody puts their footprint right in the center. So at sunset, there's been so much foot traffic across the beach that it's, a lot of times there's really not anything there. But if there's been a storm during the day, then definitely go in the evening, because there's definitely going to be something there, maybe worth taking pictures of, maybe not, you know. But and then when the tide changes, if there's not a lot of people, especially in the wintertime. So I don't go to the beaches in the summer at all. It's crazy. You cannot get to the beach without 500 people being there. So it's a waste of time for me. So I go in the spring and the fall and in the winter. The winter is the best time to go and get the sand pictures, because the beaches are pretty empty. And the oceans are a little more angrier.
I like how you give the expressions too. Yeah, the oceans and everything. That's great.
Right.
I know. But it makes sense though. That's why it's, you know, it's amusing, but it's like it is true though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and then you see really cool stuff when you're on the beach as well. So even though I'm, you know, scouring the beaches for these really cool pictures, you know, you see dolphins, you see, you know, different pelicans and bird life, and, you know, all kinds of things are washed up on the beach too. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of different driftwood. And, you know, sometimes you find, like, I mean, I've found tires. Like, where did the tire come from? I mean, it's just this big tire. It's just like half buried in the sand. You go, where's the rest of the car? You know, is it still out to sea? Is this just, you know, like a small portion of it? So there's a really fun, there's a lot of fun stuff to find, you know, that I photograph as well along the way. But something else that I do every time I go to the beach is I take a rubbish bag with me and pick up as much rubbish as I can off the beach, just to help keep it clean. And I really wish that everyone who goes to the beach, as much as they go there and they love it, that they would pick up as well. And we could keep it a lot cleaner, especially for, you know, all the sea life and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it would have been funny. Like, somebody should have been photographing me trying to dig that tire out and take it off the beach.
Roll it straight off the beach, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually put it in a trash can. It was so funny. Because the big dumpster thing, you couldn't open it. So I'm like, oh, there's got to be a trash can around here somewhere. And so I'm carrying this big tire, and I've just like stuffed it in this trash can so that it was off the beach. But yeah, I'm sure people would have thought, what on earth is she doing?
It's for the greater good, you promise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's for the greater good, but yeah.
I mean, that's a huge problem on beaches. Like, that's one of the places you see more trash than anywhere else, honestly. Like, it's bad.
Yeah, and it's like people's shoes and, you know, goggles, or you know, just the as Americans call it, trash, you know, from their lunches or, you know, whatever, and they just leave it there. And it's just so it's disappointing because, you know, you create. Do you do that at home? I always want to know. Do you do that? Do you just drop your trash on the floor in your house and just walk away from it and think someone else is going to pick it up? I just really don't quite understand it, you know. But yeah, I think there are people out there that are doing it, and I support 4Ocean, the company that makes all those little bracelets. You know, you buy the bracelet, I think it's $20, and they take a pound of trash out of the ocean. I think that's what it is. So I buy one of those every year, just to help with that and stuff. So, because if it's got all trash all over the beach, I can't find any really cool pictures either.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
Yeah.
I know we talked about the show on another episode about like the social responsibility of photographers, outdoor ones at that, to, you know, like pick up after trash, like you were saying. But you would consider yourself probably more like a fine art photographer than like a conservation photographer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have dabbled in some other photography. I've done some landscape photography. And I think you remember this conversation, Ryan. Remember when I did that show at Front Street in the CD Hall? I did that solo show, and I had the lighthouse picture. And Henry loved this because, like, I actually have never had any formal training in photography or anything like that. I just kind of do it. And so Ryan and I were talking about like the third thing, and it was like, I don't know how to do that. And he goes, well, I think he did. He says, this is perfect. This is third. So I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, that's, and I'm going, oh, okay. So I'm okay. I did it, you know?
No doubt about it.
So, right. So it's, for me, the landscape photography and stuff is really, it's more of something fun for me to go do, see if I can actually do it. And as Ryan said, I did it. So that was really cool. But it's fun to go and kind of mix up your photography as well. Because the more you use your camera, the more different things you do. And you don't have to sell that on the same platform as what you are. But if you can do some additional, or you go and try and practice and do, the more you learn about your camera, the more you learn about how light and affects all of your photographs and stuff. And it affects my sand pictures no different if you were taking a landscape, because like I said, all those different grains of sand have different surfaces. So whatever natural light that I have that's coming down onto the beach, it will create a different visual of those sand granules to create a different picture, or it'll wash it out, especially once the sun has actually risen up over, it's fairly high in the sky. Now you've just got this really bright light looking at your sand, and then it kind of washes it out a bit. So light's a really big thing. So I kind of like dabble in some of the landscaping and animal pictures and stuff like that, just to try and see how I'm really learning with all the different light and stuff like that. But I only like natural light. I'm really not a indoor photographer at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us are, right, Henry? Like, I don't think you really dabble in that either. Yeah.
In the very beginning, maybe, but I love being outside is the main reason I do it, not really to take photos. So that's second for me.
Yeah,
oh,
definitely.
really? To be outside is like your big thing?
Yeah, as I've gotten further and further, I find that I enjoy that more. Of course, I love photography, but I don't. If I'm out there and have a good time, I don't really care what images I get, really.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then being outside. I mean, I grew up in South Australia on a big farm, and so being outside, it was we didn't have TV. I mean, I think we had one that had 3 channels, and I think they're all news channels. So it was like you left in the morning and you came back at night. So it was always outside doing something. So
yeah.
So I love that.
Sorry. I just kind of want to roll it back a bit. We never talked about kind of like how you got into the sand photography in the first place. You kind of want to go into that, or how you even got into photography in general and stuff?
So I've been taking photographs since I was a kid, and never really figured that it was anything that was, worthy of obviously, being an artist out of it, until about 5 years ago. And the picture that I was explaining to you about that looks like Freddy Krueger, like drew his knives all through the sand, in that red sand in Daytona Beach. I had showed a friend of mine. Her mom is an artist. She's a painter, and absolutely incredible painter. She does a lot of abstract paintings and stuff. And I had showed her some of my sand pictures that I had taken when I was in Daytona. And she's like, oh my gosh, because they're really cool. She said, I love the way that, you've taken these, and all that stuff. And she said, you should sell those. I'm like, why? And she said, because they're really good. I was like, okay. And so then I got involved in 2018. So that was in 2016. And then I kind of dabbled for a little while. And then in 2018, I got involved with an art show called An Occasion for the Arts. And it's in Williamsburg, Virginia. And one of the coordinators, Leo, had said to me that, this artwork of yours is just absolutely beautiful. And he said, I would print that on metal. He said, because I think it would really enhance it and give it great colors. And so he kind of encouraged me to do that. So it was a lot of fun that he did, because then I entered some of my other sand into a couple of exhibitions in Williamsburg, and they were juried, and I was accepted in, and people really talked about it, and so it kind of gave me all this confidence that, oh, well, maybe there really is something here. And then I moved to Ohio due to family reasons, and I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do, but I met Samantha Mang at Front Street, and she was doing her first curating show, and so I entered that, and I was in that at the orphanage. And it just kind of snowballed from there. Then I went into the Artery, which is where Ryan is at as well. And, you know, I've done, I don't know how many shows now. In the last 2 years, I think I've done 7 or 8 shows, and I did that big solo show. 2 of them this year, the one that was in Troy and then the one that was in Dayton. And it's just really kind of taken off, and people just really connect with the images and stuff, because I think it's because they can really create their own picture out of it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing I've identified most with your work is that like you've shown me things like when we're both standing there looking at it, things I would never see otherwise, but you pointed it out, and then like I would mention things that you wouldn't see, and I mean, that's the beauty of abstract photography, really, is everyone can look at it differently and see something unique there.
Yeah, and I think that's why people really like it. Is because there's so much inside of the picture that and different galleries and different venues and stuff, they want you to name your photography, but if you put a name on it, now you've boxed everyone in, and they go, oh, okay, so it's a tree, all right, and then they move on. So there's no imagination required because the name is already told them in their brain that's what it is. So if it's untitled, and a lot of places don't like to leave them untitled, but they if you leave it untitled, then you can have that different imagination. You can see your own pictures. There is a picture that I have that was published in Florida. There's an art gallery called Art Blend, and they publish every year an art book. And so one of my sand pictures is in that for this year. And they wanted a name for it. And I told them I really didn't want to name it. And they said, we really don't want it to say Untitled. And so I did some research and stuff, and I found a word that's an old Middle Ages word for sand. And it's called sand, S-A-N-T. And so I called it that because it's sand. It really actually just means sand. So that kind of that was really cool. But that picture has, I think there's been 10 different images that people have seen in that picture alone. So it's just whatever they see in it. And I think it's pretty cool. I look at that picture and see the dark side, because there really is quite a dark side of it. But most people see all the light side of it, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned Front Street a few times. So yeah, I guess tell us more about like what that is exactly, and yeah, all that.
So Front Street is a artisan district in downtown Dayton. It's off of 3rd Street. It's obviously it's on Front Street, but it's a huge group of artists that come together, and it's a huge community, and everyone there like lifts everyone up. Everyone wants everyone to do well, because if everyone does well, we all do well. I have some really great friends there at Front Street. They do amazing work there to bring people in on first Fridays of each month. And then I think they still do second look Saturdays after the first Friday, and then on the 3rd Sunday of the month. All of the studios are open. They have vendors and food trucks, and they have live bands, and it's just a really fun time. And people can come. It's open to the public. They can all come in and see like everybody's artwork. A lot of people sell a lot of their artwork through those events. And then there's a lot of exhibitions. Like I was telling you, my solo show that I did was in the CD hall. And so every month or 6 weeks, they change that out. And it's a completely different exhibit. They're getting ready to do a new one. I think it's called Life in the City. And so that one is coming up, which I think it's in August. So that's really fun. And it's just an amazing place you feel comfortable there. I mean, everyone's got a story. Everyone's got something different, how they got into being an artist. And you have all kinds of people, whether they are painters, photographers, printmakers, to ceramics, to, all kinds of stuff. And there's a ton of characters there. So Henry, if you ever get back into Ohio, you need to go there sometime and actually experience that environment. It really is an awesome place. It really is. And I feel very honored and very humbled that I get to hang my artwork in amongst all the talented artists that are there.
So are you pretty much fully print focused? Like, would you say like you kind of shoot for the intention of printing?
Yes. Now I do. When I first started, I just took the pictures to think, oh wow, that's really cool. Now I shoot to print so that I can sell them.
Awesome. And are you a full-time photographer, or is it kind of a side hustle? Or?
Well, at the moment, it's not quite full-time, but it's not really a side hustle. It's making money, but I still have to work a full-time job. So I kind of have 2 full-time jobs.
That's great. Yeah. So yeah, tell us more about because I met you through Front Street about a year ago. I think I've known you now, Kelly, and I know you did your solo exhibit at the Troy Sunshade building. So yeah, tell us more about that because that's a really cool opportunity.
The gallery I had in Troy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So the Sunshade building is an old building in Troy, Ohio that has quite its own little history. It used to be the building where the train would come, and it would come alongside of that building. And they made all of the sunshades that went on those old cars, like the like the T models and whatever. And they had that little shade thing, cloth thing on there. And the train would, with all of these little cars on it, would pull up alongside this building, and they would go out there and they would put these shades on these cars, and then the train would go to the next carriage. And so it was kind of fun to learn some of that stuff. But now it's been turned into more of it's an art gallery, and it's off of the square in Troy, so it's a little bit out of the way, but it's a really cool little place. And so I got a studio space there, and I did a opening. I think, help me out, Ryan. I kind of forget what month that was. It was like January or February of this year.
It was March, I believe.
Oh, well, it was March. Okay, see, I told you I didn't need help with that one. So much has happened since then, So I did that opening, and I did a special project for that studio opening. And Ryan, he was my guest artist, and he brought in some of his artwork as well. But I featured a special project called 17. And 17 is actually a barn, but it's a different kind of barn. I went out and took, it was over 100 pictures of different barns in Ohio. And most of them were southeastern Ohio. And then I chose 17 different barns, and they're different colors, different shapes, different, the roofs had the different little things on the top and whatever, or the windows were different. It had like a horse, the metal horse that you see on them. One had like a really, really old combine that would have been horse-drawn, that you plow the ground with or whatever. And there was some flowers. One had an American flag painted on the side of it. And so I chose these barns specifically to basically build an actual barn. And so I took all 17 pictures, had them printed. They were 48 by 60. And then I had them sliced into 17 even parts. And then I mixed them all up, and I put 17 strips of each barn, and then on the top layer was a piece of each barn that actually built a barn. And then I put all of that together, and then I nailed it onto old barn wood. So
Wow. How do you even begin to like visualize something like that? Like, how did that idea even pop into your head? Like, that's insane.
well, and actually, this is really funny. So I was watching a TV show like several years ago, and I seen a picture on the wall. You know, like you've got your characters and they're doing the whole drama thing, whatever. And there was a picture in the background. I kind of looked at it and I went, "Oh, that's really groovy," you know. And I've never actually forgotten it. And it wasn't like the way I built it, but it was an image that was like in pieces. And so I was like, "Wow, that's really cool." I think it was actually like just one picture where they had cut it and made it into this weird thing. And so I thought that would be kind of really fun to do, was to build this barn. So yeah, so that is, it's quite amazing. It's huge. And it is actually coming back to Wings to Roots, which is August 6th will be the first Friday in August. It will be back. So I'll be exhibiting that one again on that first Friday.
Let me tell you, Henry, it's definitely something you need to see in person, or at least in a photo, because yeah, it's a lot of process to making that. And I know, Kelly, you were telling me like months ahead or before it that had this idea, and I was trying to like visualize it, but yeah, you really knocked it out of the park. When I finally saw it, it's really cool to see that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything else like it. And here's the funny part: when I was actually putting it together, I had glued all of the 7 layers of photographic paper together, so that I was trying to keep them so that like when I nailed them. So I had glued them on, I'd laid them all flat on the floor. Well, the next day when I came back, all the tops had curled, and I went, "Oh my God," I was freaking out, like, "Oh, this isn't what I was wanting it to do," And then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh no, that's exactly what I wanted to do." Because now it looks like it's, it looks like it's old. And so I was like, "Oh, this is perfect." So
Wow.
So it was a lot of fun putting that together. Some of it was a little stressful. The barnwood itself was quite a scary little story, but I had searched the planet to find some old barnwood, and I was chased by a dog at one place, and I'm going, "I just want some barnwood," and the barn's fallen down. What are you going to do with it? So I did actually find a lady who let me get some of her barnwood, but that was funny because like it went out to her barn, and I'm picking out some pieces or whatever. She comes out and she's screaming at me, "What are you doing?" I'm just getting the barnwood you said I could get. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then she went back in the house, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" So I snatched up as much wood as I could, and then threw it in the back of my truck. And I said, "Thank you," and I left.
Jeez.
So, but all of my pictures, whether it's sand or it's barns or whatever, I always have. There's a story. There's always a backstory to everything. So.
And you're always coming to me with like these crazy projects and ideas, and it's just fun to see your face light up with excitement, and then to actually put them into execution. It's awesome. It's inspirational, to say the least.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. It's if you don't have passion for what you're doing, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Because that's what brings your artwork alive, is that you have that passion, that drive, that enthusiasm, and it makes you happy. I mean, what I do makes my soul happy, and that's the most important thing. And I think if you want to do it full time and make money from it and everything, you still want to make it so that it's fun and it makes you happy, because what I do does not feel like work. It's coming back to your computer to upload all your pictures you just took, and then sorting through them. It's still fun sorting through and going, oh wow, I didn't realize I got that one. That's really fabulous. But it is a lot of work, like the whole process of going to the beach and getting everything and then coming back and uploading everything and then sorting which ones you want and getting them printed and then going, okay, where am I selling them? And
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, that's just like,
So yeah, you
seem to put just a lot
take the
of work
photos solely.
Sorry, go ahead,
You
Ryan.
guys do that again. Do it again.
We do this after you. We do this so much it hurts. I know. I was just gonna chime in saying, like, you take the photos for yourself, like, first and foremost. But like, if other people appreciate or even buy the work, that's just the extra, I guess, cherry on top.
Yes, I think so too. And I think, like I was saying before, I mean, I do photograph now to sell them. So, but it's still fun. It's still way better to walk down the beach and not find anything than it is to sit in an office and do office work.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly agree there.
Yep. Do you find yourself, since you've kind of shifted towards wanting to sell your photos, have you found that anything's changed when you're like taking the photo itself, or do you pretty much have the same process?
It's pretty much the same process, because you're still searching to find that one pattern or design or something that like catches your eye. So you're still looking for something that is, it's different, it's unique, and when you find it, you're like, yes, there it is. And so you go over and you take the pictures, and you're still taking the pictures the same way, but you just know, okay, I need to take more of that same image so that you get the perfect one, because you need to sell that one. So when I go out and actually photograph the sand, I probably take anywhere from 800 to 1,500 pictures.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
Because
long does it take you
Yeah.
to look through those?
That's what I said. It takes a lot. It's a lot of work.
As long as you
Because
enjoy it,
you
like you said.
By taking so many of the same piece of sand, you've got to take it at all these different angles to create all these different light.
Mm-hmm.
So with the light reflecting onto that sand, and it's just like you take it like in increments. So you step once and then again and again, and you've gone all the way around it, and then you step in between the footprints you have, and you still take a picture. So I might take 25 pictures of the same picture.
Wow.
Just so that when you go back and look through it, you basically discard like 24 of them, and you choose out of those 25 which one you want to keep, and then you discard the rest.
So you're very choosy, basically, in your process.
Yes, and I'm I'm very picky about what I want to print, because I want it to be really interesting, because that's what the sand is. The sand is interesting, and it creates, and I want it to be visually appealing to people, so people are drawn to it and they're like, oh wow, look at that. So I'm very choosy on what I keep and what I don't.
Yeah, it makes sense, because you're the creator of it. So yeah, and of course, like, if you're printing it, it's gonna be hanging up on gallery space. So you do want it to be something that you like looking at, of course, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How much of like the work itself do you like put in the editing and post processing? Like, what's your workflow after capturing the image?
So usually I'll get them uploaded the same day, and then I'll take a quick look at what I've got there. And usually, I laugh, because There's so many. I just go, wow, you went crazy today, Kel. You know. But then I leave them for 2 days. I don't go back and look at them for 2 days. And then I come back and go, yes, these ones were really a lot of fun. And that's when I start choosing the ones that I want to keep and deleting the rest.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that too. Is like, yeah, taking a break from like looking at it, like a fresh set of eyes, it really does help you be more, I guess, selective about which ones you do choose to edit, of course.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to, I was wondering, like, you don't have to get into specific gear, but I was just wondering about your lens choice. Like, do you have one focal length you always shoot, or do you try to mix it up? Like, what's your methodology on that?
Well, the sand is different because it's not like you're going to, shoot from a long distance. You're shooting from, maybe 12 inches off of the sand, or, you're 32 inches off of the sand. You're fairly close. So you don't know, I have a lens that I use I use a Nikon. I don't know how you guys say it in America, but I call it a Nikon, but it's a camera. But I just use a regular, like the lens that I got with it, which is just a 55 millimeter, so it's not, because like I said, I can be, 10, 12 inches off of the sand when I actually photograph. So when you see some of these pictures, and this will give you an understanding, I blow them up to be 36 by 48 prints, but that picture is really only maybe 12 by 12 inches on the sand. So I've created it to be enormous because I've taken the picture really close. And some I have to, zoom out just to get everything in it. Some of the bigger pictures that are larger on the sand, I think I need to get a different lens because I can't always capture what I want to capture with them. And I'm thinking I need to have a wide angle lens for that. Or what do they call it? A full caption lens.
Like a tilt shift or something?
Yeah, I think so. I have to do some research on some of that to figure out what would be the best for those kind of pictures to capture with, and what kind of lens would be the best one to use. But for the most part, everything is really close. So a macro lens, I have two cameras. One's a Canon, and then my other one, which I'm not going to say again because people laugh at me. And that one has a macro lens on it. So I'm still trying to figure out how to use that macro lens because I really want to get a photograph of a single grain of sand, which I don't know. And I talked to you about it too, Ryan. I don't know that I would have to spend a lot of money, I think, to get a lens that could actually capture that tiny piece of grain of sand. So I'm not really sure if I can do that, but I'd love to.
I think I mentioned once to I don't know if you can put a single grain of sand on a piece of black paper and photograph it that way. But that way it stands out from the background maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to do some playing around with that to see if I could do something like that. And I actually have some sand that I could definitely take a grain. Some of the grains are a little, some are really, really tiny and some are a little bit bigger. So I think maybe try on a little bit bigger piece and stick it on some black. Yeah, that might work, Ryan.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the first thought I had. So maybe, yeah, give that a shot at least. Even if it's still outdoors, maybe. You don't exactly have to go to an indoor a studio setting, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I could definitely give it a shot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up here in a moment, but yeah, is there any trips upcoming that you would like to share maybe?
I have, I'm heading back out to Utah in September. And I am planning, I'm going to be doing this, but I am planning a 6 weeks road trip that will take me from the East Coast all the way to the Keys, all the way around the Gulf of Mexico, crossing over, like staying in America, crossing over New Mexico, Arizona, and into Southern California to reach the Pacific, and then run all the way to Seattle, Washington. And I'm going to do it in the wintertime. So
Yeah.
this year, but maybe next year. Not like, because not this January, the next January.
Right.
So I still have a little bit more planning to do. So, but basically to take photographs of sand for the whole road trip. So.
Yeah, in
Yeah, that's
Utah,
awesome.
you'll definitely get some really unique sand.
Oh, right. So, and it's wintertime. So even though like in the southern part of America, it'll be like people, you know, all your snowbirds flock to the southern parts of the country. But I think there's a lot of storms. There's, you know, the tides are a little bit different. And then just seeing all these different places as well. I think it'll be a really fun trip. And then that would be, you know, I'll do hopefully sometime that year. I'm hoping to do another solo show to show all of the photographs that I've got from that road trip. So, but I'm going to be, in August, I'm in what is it? The Art on the Lawn. Brian, help me there. Is it with the Village Occasions? Yes. So
Yep.
I will be there for that. I'm with the Front Street group. But that's really the only show I have so far for the rest of this year. I don't have anything planned, except for just showing work in Root to Wings and in the Artery. So I have some more planning to do.
Yeah, don't we all though? But yeah, I love the trips that you take. You're always out there doing something somewhere.
Yeah, so just so you know, Henry, last year I took a road trip across the United States from Dayton, Ohio to Gold Beach, Oregon, and back. And I traveled to 19 different states. I think it was 9,800 plus miles that I drove. And I drove solo. I slept in my little car. I slept on the side of the road. I slept in campgrounds. And I stayed in the odd hotel so that I could get a shower.
Yeah. Jeez.
But it was so much fun. It really was. It was just an absolutely amazing road trip. And, you know, I didn't plan it. I mean, I planned the road trip, but I didn't plan to find the things that I found. And I didn't take any interstates except for in South Dakota, where I had crossed South Dakota through to the Indian reservations, and they had closed them down, and they kind of all kicked us out of that part of the state and sent us on down to the interstate. So, which was kind of cool because I ended up going to the Badlands, which was really fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was kind of late in the day, so I got a sunset over the Badlands, which was really cool because it like brought out these pinks and yellows and white, and it was really cool. So I have some fun pictures from there. But I took a road map book and I went by my road atlas instead of my GPS. And I'm a bit of a squirrel. Sometimes people call me a squirrel because I will go, oh look, there's a road. Where does that go? And I just take it and I go, oh, and they're the best gems because there's always something really cool to find at the end of that road. So that was a lot of fun. But I did find I can't. 30 days by yourself, you kind of learn a lot about yourself. You either you like yourself or you don't, and you kind of got to figure a few things out. So I found a lot of stuff about myself as an artist and a person and where I wanted to go and what I want to do with the rest of my life and stuff. And so that was really cool too. But some really fun, interesting places along the way, and getting to the ocean was just fantastic. Although I did it in July. So in July, I'm thinking, oh, the ocean is warm and it was hot out. I'm running down the sand and the sand is on fire hot. And so I'm going, across the sand to run into this water. And the water is like, it just came off a glacier. It was so cold. I just went, oh my gosh, I cannot jump in that one. Because I was just going to jump in the water. And I was like, oh, no, not doing it, not happening, ever. So that was quite a shock to me. Going, well, this is supposed to be, I'm supposed to be able, it's summertime, I want to get in the water. But yeah, that was, and there really wasn't anyone on the beach. So I'm thinking, oh, people are really smart around here. They just don't go swimming. So, but yeah, it was really a lot of fun. And so I think the road trip around the coast will be just as much fun, if not more. So
Yeah,
That's awesome.
be an awesome premise. Yeah, just touring and just seeing all these different beaches you can find in sand. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
Well,
and I don't know how many beaches there are, because obviously they have different names for different sections of it. But finding the roads that actually travel alongside of the beach is what I'm looking for. So again, very few in the States. Except for, once I get to the Keys, there's only one road in and one road out. So it is whatever it is. But for the most part, I want to try and stick to the coastal roads to see, so I can stop and whatever. Mind you, though, it may take me longer than 6 weeks, because if I know myself well, and I do, that it'll be like, oh, I've got to stop here. Oh, I have to stop here, and it'll take me forever. It'll probably take me a year. So, but that's not necessarily a bad thing either,
no, it's a good problem to have. Yeah, getting lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go on a wander. That's
Yeah, but here's the thing: not all of us that wander are actually lost. So
That's a great
yeah,
quote.
that is a great
Mhm.
one. Yeah, that's worth to live by, honestly.
Yes, it is.
Well, Kelly, that was great. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on,
Yeah, thank you.
sharing all your different, your
Yeah, you're very
inspiration.
welcome. Thank you for having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it very much. It was very nice to meet you, Henry. And
Nice
it
to
was
meet you
lovely
too.
chatting with you again, Ryan. As always, it's always a
Yep.
pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching the Owl Outdoors Photography Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the video version on YouTube as well. You can subscribe down below, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.